I want to call to order the November 18th, 2024 meeting of the Kingston Public Library Board of Trustees. It is 6:01. In attendance, we have trustee Jen Quackenbush, trustee Carolyn Bromage, Matt Donahue, Lee Lewis, and Ralph Calderaro. In addition, we have library director Donald Colon. The first bullet on the agenda, meeting with the Kingston 300th committee, has been postponed, likely to December. So we are going to start with minutes approval. I'll take a motion from whomever.
First 2024 meeting.
As presented?
As presented.
Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So then, subcommittee update. Since you brought all of the good things to the subcommittee, do you want to give the update?
Sure, I can do that. So we met last week to discuss, the ongoings with some of the facilities projects here. I did meet with an architect from Plymouth who did a walkthrough for the library, for the back room. Came up with a lot of creative ideas, cost-saving ideas. And so the recommendation is for us to do a feasibility study for the backroom space, which will basically allow for the professionals, like the electricians and the actual contractors and so forth, to come in and make an assessment of what would be required to meet the goals that we have for that space. So a draft scope was created by the architect, and it came in at a cost of $16,000 for the feasibility study. Because it has to follow the procurement process, we would need 2 additional quotes. So I am working to get 2 other quotes from different architects for that kind of feasibility study, giving them the scope of work as well, so that everyone is on the same page with that. So some of the ideas that were touted was, it was highly recommended not to introduce cement into that backroom space to raise the floor, but more so to do what I know as acoustic flooring, which would be a kind of rail system similar to like a drop ceiling, but the reverse, it's a floor. Because if there is any future plans for change in that space, then we would not be able to do anything if it was, solid concrete, as well as that with that type of flooring, abatement would not have to be done to the flooring, the existing vinyl flooring for asbestos, so that there would be a cost savings there, at least $25,000. And there was also ideas of creating a new egress into the space and removing the existing one, transferring the exit door to the outside to a large window. And by introducing this new egress, which would still be internal to the building, it would not require us to have to then do an exterior walkway to the sidewalk and so forth. So it would just basically be, as we have the current entrance there would be another entrance at this end. And that would work for the egress. So there, were some, as I said, some creative ideas for, cost saving and so forth. So I will be reaching out to some architects and, try to get the quotes. And, we, even though as we enter tough budgetary times, as this process has begun, we definitely don't want to lose the momentum on this, because this is kind of like an aside kind of project. Everything is, kind of for future planning. But once we get that feasibility study, that will be the guide for us moving forward. So whether or not it will be another 2 years or 4 years or what have you, we will have that plan. And that's exactly what we need, is the plan.
And the way that the architect drew up what was necessary and the presentation of her ideas is the first time I've sat in a meeting about the back room that I wasn't like, oh, this is we're gonna get buried by this project. That was the first time. Everything seemed really positive,
Mhm.
and just everything that she put forth as potential for the backspace. It wasn't a crushing cost, and the way that she mapped it out, because she had it laid out in her report a certain way the first time I'd seen it like that, and it was helpful to see it like that. So I thought it was all really positive. Do you want to add anything? I know Carolyn and Ralph are also there.
No, you got it
December,
all.
December 5th is the meeting for the lobby, and the furniture samples are getting dropped off on Thursday. 2 chairs and a side table.
So we can see them in real life.
Yep.
Also, as part of the subcommittee meeting, discussing the lobby overhaul. The next bullet is the budget overview.
Yes,
So that was sent out as a separate document with the reports.
yes. So as you are aware, there was a meeting that some members of the board and staff and supporters attended, which was a joint meeting of the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee. There had been information shared to me to share with the staff about the potential for cuts to the library that would end up resulting in a closure of a day of service, as it is anticipated that there will be service cuts supposedly across the board. And so we had attended that meeting. That meeting specifically was to for the two groups to come together for a percentage for budgets. So, and it was discussed and finalized at looking at a 4% increase to department budgets. So the two things that generally change for our budget is salaries and the materials budget, because as anything goes up, the materials budget has to go up. So the budget that I have here proposed is only, it works out to be about approximately a 2% increase. It's actually like 1.94. And it does show the wage and personnel salaries at the base pay, as the cost of living increases are a separate article at town meeting, and there's no guarantee that those would be supported. So we basically have to kind of base the wage and personnel salaries on the base salary for the steps. Then the union salary, they do have a cost of living built into their contract, and for this year it is a 2% increase, so that is reflected. And then there's longevity benefits and sick leave buyback benefits, which longevity is obviously for the amount of time folks have been here. There's an annual payout. The sick leave buyback is that union members can accumulate so many sick days, and during any given fiscal year, if that maximum amount is exceeded, the town then buys back the overage. And off the top of my head, I'm not sure exactly what the number is. And so this year, potentially we have staff that, would meet that requirement. As we move down to the individual budgets, and I'm just going to basically go over the highlights that I had listed in the draft. The properties and repairs line was increased from $200 to $2,000, and that is to cover the water bills and the sewer bills. The sewer bills are a new bill for us for fiscal 25. This budget is for 26, so we will most likely need to use other accounts to pay this year's sewer bills, because this was something that was recently sent to the departments to be responsible for. The water bills, that was a switch as facilities had been paying that when they recently changed it, but the responsibility has come back to us. So we increased that line that way. There was a contract services account that we no longer need, and so that 1825 basically has been incorporated into that 2,000 for the property repairs. So there's really only $175 increase. Actually, it's a $25 reduction when combining the two. A nominal increase to the materials budget. The other supplies, the town contract with the town vendor pertaining to printers and ink toners was not renewed. So now, beginning January, departments will be responsible for providing their own maintenance and toner supplies.
Maintenance.
Yes. So in the past, with this contract, it was a matter of, if something happened, Xerox would be contacted, the vendor would come in, they would do the repairs and so forth.
Who
So
are you to contact that same vendor, but on your own individually as
that would,
departments?
there is no clarification with that. It is a matter of, we do have for the public and staff copier printers, we have, a contract with the vendor for that. Ourselves, we have a lease for those. So it's more of the desktop printers
Okay.
that would be, we would then be responsible for that. But there are a lot of local vendors that can be utilized at cost savings, but it's really going to be probably the ink that is going to potentially be troublesome to the budget. So that was slightly increased by $500 to help alleviate that requirement. The software subscription budget was increased by $1,000. That was due in light to the transfer from Plymouth Rocket to Assabet, which is basically double the cost of Plymouth Rocket. So we will need to have additional funds to cover that increase. And then the last increase was an increase to the OCLN assessment, which was $1,000. So with those in total, as I mentioned, it works out to be about 2% increase. I do
Which
have,
I think they'll be happy with, given that they put the ceiling at 4.
yeah. So I do have a department head meeting tomorrow, and as we, continue forward, obviously the financial landscape can change, but I will be also looking at constructing budgets that would reflect decreases in our budget at different levels to ensure that, my initial plan, as I did last year, was to, reduce costs that did not impact people. But it may be quite possible that that will be the case this year, that we may have to look at that.
I just have one question.
Mhm.
If you look at the smaller and the highlights increases, it says property maintenance covers water and sewer bills. So does the number that comes in under property repairs on the first page is 2,000?
Correct.
Is that meant to cover the increase of the sewer and water?
That is correct. Because fiscal 25 that we're currently in, so if we go back to fiscal 24, we originally had a budget of 1,200. That 1,200, so this line was originally created for the putting up and taking down of the large tent during COVID times. And which now actually that $1,200 would only cover one side. And since we're not actually doing that any longer, I reduced it to 0 for fiscal 25. The accountant at that time said we needed to leave some money in there for the water bill, because we would now be responsible. So she put 200 in. Well, the $200 was good for one water bill for the library and the Adams Center. So we will be looking for another method to pay for the rest of the quarters. And we have, at this point, we have not received any sewer bills, so I have no concept of that.
So this number of 2,000 it really has no basis, does it?
That is correct, but it's a nominal increase to, I mean, if we have to use
Yes.
state aid, as an assessment, yes.
So if this was higher, then we would have to look to cut down something else to cover up that.
That is
line.
correct. That is correct. And it
Because-
is, and some line accounts are fluid. So for example, like other supplies would be an account that we paid for processing materials for books. So like book covers, spine labels and things like that. And it is kind of an ebb and flow of usage and need. So, as we go through the fiscal year, we monitor the accounts to see where the needs are and whether or not things need to be cut, whether things need to be held off to, purchase for next fiscal year, or whether we use, state aid because it is a greater need. We have made the request, both myself and Karen have made the request for the past bills so that we can kind of have something to guide on. I mean, the water bill, for example, it's going to be kind of skewed because there was work done to the men's room that the waterless urinal was replaced with an actual auto flush urinal. So there is going to be definitely double water usage, at least with that. But the sewer bill, we have no concept at this time. But as we move along in the financial process, we can amend that line as we get hard data to support.
I'm just wondering whether both water and sewer can give you a better estimate of what it would be.
We have the requests in,
Okay,
so that's
fine. And as far as I'm assuming that the top half of this first page, which is incomes,
it's salaries, yes.
the salaries, they're pretty set, aren't they?
That is correct. The only change that could occur to there would be that the upper tier, so the librarians and myself, potentially could get a 2% cost of living increase. But these are set.
Unless they were to force us to have to leave somebody, cut somebody.
That is correct.
Because your other costs are, except for your dues and membership.
Yeah, and the book budget, like those
Or
are
the
the
books
those are
and-
the big ones, yeah.
Which are very large, but Jesus Christ. There isn't very much there to move around.
That's why we try to be creative.
Well, to be creative, but at some point, reality just sticks on. It just sticks on. And it requires significant reductions. Okay, I don't mean to make everybody very happy. I'm just trying to set it in my own mind. What we're going to have to read on.
Now, is this draft budget going anywhere, or is this for you to work with at this point?
This is for me to work with at this point. The budget, we have not been requested to submit our budgets yet. I'm thinking potentially at tomorrow's department head meeting, that might be when the ask is
Yeah.
made for departments to put in, their requests. But there hasn't been a formal request yet.
Next bullet after this is the director's report.
The director's
You can
report, yes.
continue.
Okay. So I just want to touch base on the book and treat program that we held at the Reed Building in partnership with Parks and Recreation. It was quite successful. We had a couple of hundred families attend. It was definitely more, for our part, it was a more streamlined effort with the recreation department doing a lot more upstairs. They were able to utilize volunteers that the library had for a lot of the games and activities. The photo booth was a true success. We saw members of the community. We saw a lot of non-residents as well. And there was a lot of positive feedback that, came from that. So I was very happy with that. I've attended some various webinars, Succeeding with Community Partnership, To Ensure Your Library's Health, Give Your Communications a Full Check webinar. There has been a lot of training sessions in regards to the new online calendar and museum pass reservation system. There were 3 sessions that I attended, and then we had individual one-on-one sessions with various staff members. So right now, the museum passes are set to go live. The online calendar, librarians are in the process of uploading their events to the calendars. Once that is completed, the next challenge will be adding the coding for these to the library's website, which at times does not, this particular product at times does not play well with Civic Plus, which is the platform that the town uses for the website. Things are doable. It may require, instead of us just adding code and things work, it may be that we have to work with Civic Plus for them to do some manipulation of other things to ensure that that is achieved. I met with the COA director concerning the STAP. I call it STAP, that was from another town. It was the same exact program, but it was the senior tax write-off program. What this program allows is for seniors of a certain age to work so many hours and get money taken off their annual tax bill. Departments are asked to create job descriptions for these positions. And it recently, was made known to me that currently the members that we have doing this program actually do not meet the requirements of the job descriptions in the sense of the mobility and being able to do the activities that are listed in those job descriptions. So they are doing other tasks that are beneficial to the library. However, the specific things outlined in that are not. So I wanted to meet with the interim director to discuss the process, how it is determined. It was a program that they inherited 2 years ago, so it's still kind of a work in progress for them as well. So while meeting with her, I did invite her to participate in Luminaries this year, as I feel that it is a department that could benefit from having that interaction with the community. We originally were going to have them at the COA. Due to the timing and volunteers, they will be basically set up here in the library. We're going to give them space here. I did, at the last department head meeting, also mention it to other departments that potentially next year, that if there were other departments that were interested in doing this kind of community, outreach kind of programming, that we could definitely set it up at the Adams Center. So whether it is the Board of Health, Conservation, or whoever, we can do tables with tablecloths, decorations, have music playing, what have you. They have some cute giveaways, information about their departments, that it would be extended, to anybody who would be interested. I I have been working on the request for the return of the autograph book from the archives collection that we have previously discussed. The paperwork has been submitted to the First Parish Church, and they do have the signatures. So we will be meeting with them for us to sign off on the forms, and then we will give them the autograph book, and then the ownership of the Women's Alliance Group will then become possession of the Kingston Library archives. So there would not be any, future issues with that. I have been meeting with the staff internally, as well as kind of having impromptu conversations with recreation about luminaries. We are meeting on the 22nd to hardline things, as well as collect. We both have been collecting data for various community groups that participate in the program, so that we will be able to promote their activities as well. We meeting myself and the facilities director met last Wednesday with the sign company concerning the issues with the LED sign. And they were on site for 3 hours. They did repairs. They took individual panels off of the sign to check for any potential corrosion or potential near future issues. And there was one part that needed to be replaced for the potential of, in a month they'll be back, sort of thing. So we did discuss them talking to the technicians to work with their engineers to come up with some type of encasement of the sign to, because on one hand, it's been an issue about power supply, and now it appears to be weather related with infiltration of, liquids, water, or what have you. And we did hear back from the head of their department that their engineers are not interested, nor is there a support to do an enclosure. Specifically, one, because the potential for enclosing it with plexiglass would result in time it yellowing and so forth. So with that said, this morning, I then sent an email to them with photos of the current status of the sign, as the south side facing sign, there was discoloration in the panels with a bar of a solid color, a blinking color, and what have you. So photos were sent. They are supposed to be meeting with their team tomorrow, including the engineers, to talk about what is potentially can be done. I mean, obviously this time it can't be blamed on rain.
I was gonna say, it hasn't
Yeah.
rained in
Yep.
however long.
Exactly. So I'm hoping that we can come to a resolution and a solution, but I'm not very hopeful. And, for some of the repairs that they did the other day, that were basically parts that we had in the boxes out back, the boxes are starting to get slim.
Mhm.
And so we may have to look into other, options moving forward.
This is becoming your new high-tech chandelier shade.
Yes. At least it's not really taking any physical, manual labor, like a flooded elevator pit, sort of thing. So, but those would be the highlights of the report. Other than, I can go over statistics.
I just want to say before you go into
Sure.
statistics that I appreciate you reaching out, the inclusivity of inviting other departments to participate in luminaries, either in the Adams Center or here. Since we define the library as a community hub, it makes sense.
Absolutely. So for the statistics of October, the overall stats for physical items was 11,038. That was up over September, which was at 10,751. Also, the number of holds placed increased from 974 to 1123. We are holding kind of steady on the mid-50s for new patron registrations, which has been kind of the standard for us for a while now. But it is definitely higher than it has been during my tenure. So that is great to see. And also included is the Hoopla transaction. So for calendar year of January to now, it is, we've had 4,344 items that were borrowed at a cost of $9,900.30.
Any questions on Donald's report or the statistics? I'm not seeing any. The staff reports also went out in the same email. Any questions or comments on those?
Say is that everyone seems to be reporting back, and in every department, we all seem to be doing wonderful.
Agreed.
I mean, it's amazing to me how much these people are actually doing. They're not just sitting around.
Yeah, they're not shushing people.
Got some young and excited people here.
I
Lucky.
mean, it's amazing. So,
Debbie Grace, head of the foundation, joined us at 6:06. Would you like to give an update on the foundation?
Sure, we are in the process of selling the Elf on the Shelf kits. We still have a couple of those left. We can sell those up till the end of November, since the elf arrives shortly after that, so you need to have them timely. We had a great turnout on Saturday for the 15th anniversary celebration of the foundation. Had lots of great conversations with people in the lobby who didn't know a whole lot about what we do. It was also amazing to see how many families were in here on a Saturday and how many families just kind of sat in the children's room on Saturday to read. Like, there were families that were there for probably 2 hours or more just hanging out, which was very nice to see. And fall appeal letters have gone out, and we are running a little kind of competition. If you get your appeal letter in before December 4th, December 3rd, on the 4th, we will pick, we have a gift certificate to the Daniel Webster Inn, so your name will be added to that drawing.
Great, well, congratulations on Saturday being a
Thank you.
success.
Thank you. Look for us, I think, in the February issue of Kingston Living,
Oh,
hopefully.
good.
That's what we've been told. Could be, could change.
Next item on the agenda is payment of bills, and we don't have any. The the bonding is paid. Old business. Oh, to confirm our December date, in which we may or may not have a presentation. To the 16th. Is that right? Okay,
Yes.
the 16th. 12/16.
Just out of curiosity, I saw
Yes.
that we, at least what I have in my phone, I could be behind. I've scheduled up through March.
Mhm.
Are we scheduling any further out at this point in time, or are we holding off until further notice?
We could schedule out more for the 6 months.
Just because I know, I don't want to kind of run aground with the 6-month rule.
Then
Or
we can add.
Or what we could do is at either the December meeting or January meeting set the dates for the full calendar year, so that they're at least a placeholder. They could fluctuate, obviously, if there isn't going to be a quorum, adjustments could be made, but then that way, if we just do it for the year, the calendar year, then we'll be
We don't
set.
have to be fussing with, are we in the?
Yeah, and then
Is that-
everybody's with planning, if folks are trying to plan other events or something, they'll know ahead of time.
Okay. We can add that to the agenda.
Seven. January.
New business?
Just two quick things. So the library will be closing on December 16th for Alice training.
Okay.
So we'll be closing early. The staff will be going to the Council on Aging. There has been an ask by the town for departments to undergo Alice training, fire extinguisher training, and emergency evacuation training. So there are scheduled times at town hall, but other departments have to set up their own times. So in collaboration, the fire department the police will be providing the training at the Council on Aging for that date. And then on December 21st, we will be closing at 3 for luminaries setup.
Okay. I'm not seeing any. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
We adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
I
Officially adjourned at 6:38.